Jim, so I'm glad he's here
Glasses.
today. A mom and her child were after Sunday school, where she was asking him, well, what did you learn in Sunday school today, Johnny? And Johnny said, well, Mom, you wouldn't believe this. The Sunday school teacher told a story about how Jim, I didn't mean you, Jim, but how Jim, or how about Moses, and how Moses went behind enemy lines to sneak in to free the Israelites. And while he's back there, he got the people and brought them to the Red Sea, and then he called in his army buddies, and they built a pontoon bridge, and so they could go across the sea, and they got across the sea, and then he used his walkie-talkie to call in an airstrike to bomb the pontoon boat bridge, and so it killed all the Egyptians that were chasing them, and they got away free. And the mom looked at him and said, is that really what she said, Johnny? And Johnny said, well, if I told you what she said, you wouldn't believe it, Mom.
That sounds like a Medea story.
Isn't that about true, though, about a lot of things in the Bible? So anyway, today's title of the lesson is Attitude Adjustment, and I want you to think about what comes to your mind when you hear that, because Reverend Francie did a good job last week about talking about the grass is always greener, and that's an old idiom that people think that it's better for somebody else or on the other side. But she explained it how it was not. But the attitude adjustment, what do we think about when we hear that? As far as when I was a kid, it used to mean that you're going to get a whipping probably. A lot of people, and I know that times have changed and it may not mean the same thing, but back a long time ago, that meant you're in trouble. You need an attitude adjustment. But that's not what I'm talking about today at all. And I think that if we think about what I'm talking about and look into it, then we'll find out it's a little bit different. Because the Lenten season, which we're in right now, is about adjusting our attitude toward life. That's what the Lenten season is about. And Lent is a Christian religion invention. Lent wasn't around forever. It wasn't around before Christianity became. And it wasn't something that everybody practiced until Christianity, mainly the Catholics, made it something that was dictated from the church. And it's not a bad thing. I'm just saying that's what it is. The church created a lot of things that are good for us if we choose to use them. But it's something that was created by the church, and it's time in our life once a year, where it's not that long of the part of the year, that we can look at life and change. Now, when maybe some of you were brought up Catholic, maybe not, but I think most people know that what usually the tradition as far as changing your lifestyle is in Lent is what? Usually on Friday you wouldn't eat meat, right? Do you remember that? And that some people still do that. I did that for a long time. I loved McDonald's fish sandwiches, so it was easy for me. And so anyway, just doing that, it's kind of like a lot of things in Christianity are really something that is, or in all religion actually, is something that is showing outwardly that you can change how you live or how you do things. And really, the great thing about unity is that it teaches that Jesus wasn't talking about the outer, neither were all the other religions, if you're pulling what they really meant for. We're talking about the inner. So the Lenten season really is about a daily accounting, how it's important for us to be prayed up. And if we're prayed up on the inside, then the outer things don't affect us as much. Now, I told you before on some of the work around here that, I wasn't the best minister as far as working with other people. Not necessarily working with other people, but when something would go wrong, And the same thing happened a little bit on that playground this week. And Bill Francis said, you got to quit talking like that. And I said, you're right. And Bill said, well, he's just talking French. So Giselle would have understood if you were here, or wouldn't you? You sure would have understood. Anyway, but we have to be prayed up, so those things don't bother us as much. And I know that we get busy, and me included, get busy in what we're doing, and we get kind of caught up in what we're doing. We want a time schedule. We want it done in a certain amount of time. sometimes we have to just relax and understand that, just like we were talking about for our prayers today, everything is in divine order, and we have to just take it in the divine time that is coming. So being prayed up, though, helps us to be there and not let things bother us, if you will. And how we do that is about thinking about one thought, and that thought is God. That's what the whole Lenten season is about. And this, when we're thinking, this is what Charles Fillmore put down in Revealing Word about thought. A product of thinking, a mental vibration or impulse. Each thought is an identity that has a central ego around which all its elements revolve. I know this is a lot, but think about this when you're reading it. Thoughts are capable of expressing themselves, which we know, right? Thoughts do express themselves. Every thought clothes itself in a life form, according to the character given it by the thinker. The form is simply the conclusion of the thought. So what comes from our thoughts? Usually words or actions, right? Or we can stop them right there if we choose to, if they're not in a betterment for producing, for manifestation. Then we can stop them when we're there, when we're thinking the thought. And this is a practice that all of us need to be in, and Lent time is a good time to do that, is to get into that idea of thinking about what Lent actually is. It's an inner practice instead of an outer practice, and then thinking about what Lent leads to, which is Easter. And a lot of people, especially in Christianity, well, obviously in Christianity and outside of Christianity, think of Easter as what? Jesus dying on the cross. Well, that's not what Jesus would talk about it, but it's not what the main teaching of Easter is. It's about rising from the death on the cross. And a lot of people will teach you that, but they won't teach you that it's an inner rebirth. And that's what we're talking about during the Lenten season, how we can come to life and enjoy things that maybe we thought we couldn't. About the grass isn't always greener, how the grass right here, we have to enjoy where we're at before we can enjoy it anywhere else. And that's just a fact of life. And if you've lived long enough, which a lot of us have, then you know that. And some of us, it's funny because, not funny, ha-ha, but it's interesting. I need to say that now. It's interesting how life goes. Because sometimes if you don't learn to enjoy or understand where you're at right now, life's circumstances will make you stay there until you do. I don't know if they've experienced that, but that does happen. And so if we're at a place where we don't like right now, figure out how to like something about it. And then that will help you learn how to get into a better place that you think is better. Not for the idea of getting to a better place, but for enjoying seeing what you can enjoy right now. Do you follow me?
Yes.
Okay, good. Everything that begins with a divine idea. And this is central to the teaching. Everything that is a divine idea. And this will help you with what I just said. If you're thinking a bad thought and you don't want to manifest it, and you catch it before it comes out in words or actions, then you can stop it right there, right? But the main thing is if you catch it right there, figure out what the divine idea behind that was. In other words, like if you think a bad thought about I don't know, I don't have enough money to do whatever I want to do, whatever it is. Then think about what the divine idea behind that is. The divine idea is opposite of what you're thinking, as far as your human mind has taken over for your divine mind. In other words, you switch the divine idea of unlimited access to everything, money being included, to something that I am in lack. And that's totally opposite, right? So if you switch that idea, then what you're going to manifest is what you're thinking, which is lack. And so you're going to continue to manifest. If you look at your balance sheet or whatever you do, however you do your finances, you look at your checkbook and see a negative account and you're sitting there focused on that, that's what you're going to continue to see. If you look at your checkbook and say, this is not where I want to be, which is okay to admit that. Denial is not about denying where you're at. Denial is about giving it power. And denial is one of the tools that we use. The affirmation on that is God is unlimited, and I'm going to start exercising my God-given abilities. You follow me? Okay, so everything begins with a divine idea, which is cool if you think about it. So God has given me an idea to do something with, and how am I going to respond to that? Oopsie. This is from the Bible, 2 Peter 1 through 3. His divine power has given us everything we need for a godly life through our knowledge of Him who called us by His own glory and goodness. So this is really, if you read the Bible as the gospel, which is good news, then you will probably get a different take than if you were reading it as if, well, what does God want me to do? How do I have to do this? Because you don't have to do anything. We've proven that. Everybody knows that. We don't have to do anything. We don't have to. If somebody tells you, well, if you go down the street here, you take a left, you'll end up where you're at, where you want to go. If you take a right, the bridge is out and you'll fall off and you'll die. But you go down the street and you say, well, I'm going to go to the right. What are you going to do? You're going to fall off the bridge, aren't you? It's silly to think about that. You're not trying. When somebody has been given a divine idea, the divine idea has not been given to you for your bad. It's been given to you for your good. So when we think about that, there's plenty of places in the Bible where you can pull it and see that. Life does not happen to us. Life happens because of us. So this is the same idea, the same explanation really, is that, life, a lot of people, well, it used to be, I don't know how many people really think that anymore. A lot of people still do, I guess. Life happens to you, so you have no control over what your destiny is. Well, that's baloney. That's not true. You do have control over what your destiny is. And if you understand that God only wants good for you, then what's your destiny going to be?
Good.
It's going to be good. If you decide to follow that path. If you decide not to follow that path, then that's your choice, and that's up to you. But don't blame destiny or whatever, predestined, whatever you want to say. You can't blame that when you chose to take the right up there and go off the bridge instead of take the left and go where you want to go. You can't blame somebody else for your sorrows. And a lot of people do that still. We're always complaining about, well, he said he did this to me, she did this to me, and I didn't get the raise because they did this and that. Well, that's not. If things are out of your hands, then all you can do is the best you can do. And if you're happy when you're doing it, I guarantee you people will see that. I was in charge of 4 different departments at Unity Village, and some of the people there, when I got there, had been there over 20 years. And it's not like that they were bad people at all. They were great people. All of them are great people, and I didn't know anything about any of them. So when I got there, I had to do the normal business stuff as far as management and look at everybody and see what they're doing and see how they're performing and everything. Well, what I found out with the people that had been there a long time was that they had done the same things over and over and over again for 20 years. Well, I had 4 departments. And, anytime, as you know, a corporation starts to join departments, they're going to want what? They're going to want synergy. So that means that they're going to want people to do more things than just one thing that they've been doing for 20 years. Okay? So when I introduce that, which is totally true, how I introduce that is I introduce it to everybody. The more you know about what you're doing and other things that you can be doing, the more valuable you are to the company. And so the more valuable you are, period. And in doing so, 90% of them caught on to that and said, yeah, that's cool. I can know this. And it's not mundane anymore. It's not the same thing over and over. I can do this too, and I can do that. But there were the few that didn't want to do that. They wanted to do the same old thing over and over and over again. So what happens? I have to talk to them, don't I? That's not the fun part of the job as far as management at all. Sometimes people think that, management is feelingless. I don't know what the word I'm looking for. Doesn't have any feeling. But, the worst thing that I ever had to do in all my management career was let somebody go. And I did not like that one bit. Yet, there wasn't anybody that I ever let go that didn't know it was coming. I mean, we talk about it. This is what I need you to do. Can you do it? And if they can or they can't, that's what it boils down to. So and why I'm telling that story is because it falls in line so much with what our life can be if we follow the teachings that we know are good for us, which are God teachings. So the God thought in all this allows us to know that life doesn't happen to us, but life happens because of us. So if I go, in that example I gave you, if I go and take a right and fall off the bridge, who does that affect? That affects me, right? But the fun thing to know about if I go down the road, take a left, and end up where I want to be, is that understanding, that life that it brings to me, that additional life that it brings to me, spreads to those around me. So those around me can get that same idea and get that same message, particular to their life, of course, and go down the road and take a left and keep spreading that more and more. And it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's what we talk about when we're talking about the group consciousness, the human consciousness. You have a consciousness. You know what that is. And you know how that works and how it works in your life. Well, there's the human consciousness that is all that gathered together. And it just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger until it gets too big to hold its weight, just like a cloud, and it releases. So if that's full of joyful, unlimited thoughts, when it releases, what's it going to release? Joyful, unlimited thoughts. It's the same the other way around now. When you have negative, hateful thoughts that are going out, and it builds and builds and builds, what happens? It ends up with negative, hate-filled thoughts, which looks like in our world, looks like a war, a battle, a fight between people, whatever it looks like. But it's not something that most of us want. And once we get that gathered and understand better, I think that we'll be able to live a better life personally and as a humanity. Because, we used to have, in the United States, believe it or not, we used to have a Department of Peace. We've always had a Department of War, which is now the Defense Department, which, the Defense Department does sound better than the Department of War, but, also we will want to know where our focus is. If we bring back a Department of Peace, what are those people supposed to be doing? Looking for peace instead of looking for defense or war. You follow me? It's not something that is major in a word shift, but it's major in a consciousness shift. So when we're thinking about ways to find peace instead of defense or war, it would be easier to find that peace. Okay. Your attitude about life, to life, and for life outpictures in your life. So this is the easy way to say the hard teaching that Unity started with, as far as what's your consciousness. You're where you're at because of what your consciousness is bringing to you. And so I know that sometimes that's a hard lesson. So and we don't really do that anymore because it is a kind of a not a nice way to say, well, you need to switch this type of living in your life. The Lenten time of the year, we are very fortunate in Unity because we have great writers that write, where is it? You have one right here. Lenten books and things like this. We have the daily word all year. But these things are wonderful to have and to read every day because, especially, if you need a pick-me-up, all these will tell you something each day about what the Lenten season is about, how you can improve your life. So it's not, I always loved going to Unity churches as a kid and mainly as a business person trying to pick up, because I always felt like it was and I hope this church is for you, a motivational for me to go through the week. Not in the sense that it's a motivational talk that you go get from Tony Robbins, you're going to do all this and that and the other, but a motivational, because there's a difference between that and this. That, Tony Robbins and them, and that's fine, are talking about outer. And what we're talking about is inner. And when we change the inner, all the outer happens. It's not, see, if you're just worried about the outer, then you're going to have to be worrying all about the outer all the time. If you take care of the inner, the outer happens for you. It doesn't have to be a fight, a struggle, or anything like that.
Absolutely.
If you take care of the inner, the outer comes about perfectly. So that's what it's saying. Your attitude about life, to life, and for life outpictures in your life. Who you hang out with makes a difference. That's a good picture, Francie. Good apple and a rotten apple. And what was that Jackson 5 song? One bad apple don't rule the whole bunch, ruin the whole bunch. Spoil the whole bunch, girl. But, you know, if you leave that rotten apple in there, it will spoil the whole bunch. Did you know that? It will if you leave it in the bucket. I mean, you got to pull it out. So, and it's not that I'm saying that you need to just leave your spouse or anything. I'm not saying that. Because, you know, if you've been together a long time, you're comfortable enough with each other to say things that, whatever, that might be taken offensively, not maybe necessarily meant so. I know I never said that to you, sweetheart, but anyway, you have to, when you're surrounded by people, in fact, somebody in our congregation, not here today, but anyway, it doesn't make a difference, in our congregation understood this well because they became fairly well, pretty kind of famous, and the buddies that they had around them were jealous, really, to be quite honest. But they were you know, kind of starting to hang on him, saying, "Well, hey, what about me? Bring me along, all this stuff, give me money, whatever." Well, he understood pretty quick that if he did all that, then he would be back to where he was. You know, and it's not, and I'm not saying don't help people. I'm not saying that. Don't misunderstand me. But help the people up. Don't, in other words, just like the Bible says, teach people how to fish. Don't give them a fish. Giving them a fish helps them for a day. Teaching them how to fish helps them for life.
Hand up, not a handout.
Yeah, that too. Hand up, not a handout. And I mean, a hand up can be helping somebody up and feeding them that day. But make sure you're helping them up mostly, not just giving them something that will sustain them just for a day. So it makes a difference who you hang out with. Don't hang out with people who are always naysayers. That will bring you down if you are not strong enough, if you're not prayed up, like I said earlier. You have to hang around people who are lifting you up. And it's so much funner when you hang around people like that, and it's so much funner to be that person that people want to hang out with. Because if you are that person, then what it's like a party all the time. Not a party with alcohol and stuff, but a party with getting high on life. I know everybody in here has done that before. You got high on life. Now, it may have been a while, and it may have been this morning, but you can get high on life. You really can, and it's really cool because it makes you feel so good, and it's like, wow, I've got that within me, evidently. And you understand that more and more and more, and it becomes easier and easier and easier to bring that up. And having the right people around you is important to be able to express that and do that. And so, you know, we had a lot of health prayer requests this morning. So what do we want to do about that? This is the same thing. We want to, first of all, think our own thoughts, understand like Myrtle did, that every cell in my body is a holy cell. I don't inherit sickness, so I'm going to see every cell in my body as whole, perfect, and healthy. And when I do that, that's going to help me. And I want people around me that are going to do that. I don't want people around me, oh, you've got this problem, you've got that problem, oh, we're going to work on that. They may have the right intention. They may have the totally right intention. But that's not what you need right now. You need picked up health-wise. You need to understand that you do not inherit sickness, that you are a healthy living being. And every cell in your body can be that if you allow it to be and you talk to it that way. So let's do that. Building up your prayed upness is important, and that's what I was just talking about. So your prayed upness, and you know, I don't know, I mean, I've said it before, but I don't know if you ever heard it before. I said it here, but it's been in Unity forever. Being prayed up, it's probably been in all of Christianity, but being prayed up is something that is important. You know, like I'm saying, the Lent book, the daily word, whatever it takes for you, or more importantly, your daily prayer time, your meditation time, is important because that way, when you come into something outside of you, that is something that you know that is not the divine idea expressing, then we need to be able to deal with that and understand, without getting angry or mad about it, that there was a divine idea that started that, even though it may have been turned around into the wrong idea, right? Okay, take the extreme examples that people like to use sometimes. Take Hitler during World War II, how he became to power and all this stuff. It's a fascinating story if you think about it. You know, during that time, Hitler came to power. Hitler had ran for elections before and lost. But Hitler came to power because of the fact that it was during a time where hyperinflation existed in Germany, which hyperinflation is something that you don't ever want to hear happen again. It's hyperinflation. What it is like, okay, I made $100 this week, and I can go out, and last week I could buy all my groceries for $80. So if I make $100 this week, I'm okay. But you make $100 that week, and now all your groceries cost you $120. It was that quick. Hyperinflation was crazy during that time. Hitler had the idea of trying to get us all together and trying to get it to where we can stop that. The government can take over some of that and do that. And if you're living where you can't even feed your family, it changes your whole attitude on life. And we're not talking about the same thing. And you know, people a lot of people, you know, we get to a place in life where we're doing pretty good ourselves and we're okay. Then we kind of forget about the mob mentality. Sometimes we forget about it. Hopefully we never forget about it because we want to see people out of that. And the mob mentality is something like, you think, you look at the news and you see somebody robbing a place and you think, oh, why don't they just arrest that guy and put him in prison? Well, yes, and why are they having to rob that place? Okay? Some of them are doing it because they're stupid, let's be honest. But some of them are doing it because they can't feed their families. And there's a big, huge difference. And I'm telling you right now, if I couldn't feed the boys, I'd be stealing something. I tell you, I would. There's nothing going to stop me. The boys are going to get fed. So, you know, it's something that we can't forget. But if we all stay prayed up, then we can figure out ways to do things differently and to be able to help anybody or be helped. By the time we are done with this service, you will have had thousands of thoughts. You know, what's for lunch? How am I going to drive home? What's Jenny doing today? You know, just all sorts of different thoughts, which is okay. I don't know who Jenny is. That's just funny. Yeah.
That was his girlfriend's name before me.
No, but I can, let me see. Okay. No. Anyway, you know, whatever thoughts come through our mind, you know, a lot of thoughts come through our mind. And when that happens, you know, that's fine, but we do need to learn how to focus our thoughts so we can go into a meditative state at times and understand what we're focusing on. You know, a lot of people through quite a few years, 25 years now probably, have been saying to focus on your breath. I never liked that, but that's okay. If that's what gets it there for you, then that's fine. Focus on your breath. Whatever it does to get you to quiet what some people call the monkey mind or whatever, where you've got all these thoughts coming through your mind. Meditative state is not when you're thinking about other things outside of you. It's when you're thinking just start thinking about God or whatever and the vastness that God would be, whatever God's definition is in your mind. And so when you think about that, you can cut out all the outer stuff. And when you get really, really good at it, you can do that anywhere. I mean, in a crowded place or anywhere. And it's really cool if you do that. You know, I have obviously been praying and meditating for a long time, but there has only been probably one or two times when I've reached kind of like euphoria in that meditative state. And what happens during that, for me at least, what has happened is that when I come out of it, I won't recognize what time it was, how much time I was in that state or not, until I look at a clock and try to figure all that stuff out. But that's not really what I'm looking for when I come out of it. So what you're doing, though, is you're getting into a quieted mind state. And the reason you're doing that is because you want to listen. You can't listen when you're talking. And so I've been talking a long time, and even I can stop and feel everything in my body calming down. I don't know if you can do that right now. But when you stop talking and just be still, then you can go into that state. But we have thousands of thoughts. And that's a good thing, that we can handle thousands of thoughts all at once. But that's our human brain. And we need to relax the human brain every once in a while. Each moment provides an opportunity for us to have a godly attitude, and that's the truth. We can have a godly attitude. And you know, even though I may say some French words out there, building stuff, I still know that the end result is going to be a great result. When we get that playground equipment done, and Reverend Francie, one of her friends, lifelong friends, sent us something really, really cool this week, yesterday I think, about putting a time capsule out there, but she'll explain that to you later. But, you know, it's so cool when you think, and you guys are all a part of this. We're all a part of this right now, what we're building here. It's so cool to think about it. And it's not because I want my name, or hopefully it's not because you want your name on the building when we're dead. I hope it's because somebody else beyond us is going to get a benefit from this. I mean, there's going to be other great, hopefully a lot of great Unity ministers come in here and continue to build on what we're doing here. And so when we think about that, at least for me, that really jives me up. That really jives me up. You know, it's not about me. It's about getting the community in here. You know, we're going to have, this is, Wichita was my home-based church, and they had a sanctuary for 306 or 309. I always forget. I don't remember which one it was. But anyway, and they had stadium-style seating. But this thing, if we're packed, would probably hold 200.
Oh, no.
If we're packed. I mean, bottom to bottom. And so we want to get this thing, maybe not that packed.
No.
I want to have some room between each other. But we want to get a lot of people in here, not because we want to be famous or anything, but because we want to spread this kind of message. That you have control over your life. This Lenten season is talking about that throughout Lenten season. Take control of your life. Not from an outer point, although that will come, from an inner point where everything will come. We don't have to worry about the outer anymore because we are okay inwardly. So, we have the opportunity to have a godly attitude, which that is a godly attitude. I would like to encourage you to have a willing attitude adjustment today. And so, I hope that by saying what I said today, that when we have an attitude adjustment from now on, it's not a negative thing. It's not going to be something that I'm saying negatively about somebody else. It's saying something positively about myself. I'm going to have an attitude adjustment. And no matter where we are on our spiritual path, we can all have an attitude adjustment, myself included. So we can always improve. Phil Pearson, which is a longtime Unity minister, he still says, this or something better. Isn't that what he says? Or is it? Yeah, this or something better. I think that's what he said. I'm getting my phrases confused with that and something else, but I don't want to tell you the other. This or something better is what he said, I think. So anyway, I want to encourage you to have a positive attitude adjustment today. Thank you, and God bless you.
The good is yet to be.
The best is yet to be.